How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. First and foremost, I want to thank Amari Benton. Thank you, my queen, for sending me the email. I had intended on doing another video, but I felt like this video was more important. This is a bit of a long video, but it's very necessary to hear everything through. So I have two videos to present, and I have a short statement that I want to read. So a few weeks ago, my royal family, I had put up a video, and I had put up a video of even much longer than that, about the case with Judge Hatchett when she was sexually violated. And it was awful. And we're going to actually hear her voice fully. And then I'm going to also read a statement that now this unquote ex, what was his position? He was a sheriff, the ex-sheriff. Now he's the ex-sheriff, okay? So how I'm going to start it out, we're going to hear this first video, and then I'll read something in between, and then we'll continue on from there, my royal family, to get abreast of what's going on. So let me get it from the beginning. Let me freeze this. Get the sound quality up. And hear what Judge Hatchett has to say. And you see, they said here, she said this case unnecessarily took 20 months. Yeah, because they let him use the system. This is their system, and these are the games that the enemy plays in the system. They allowed it. Okay, so this first video, my royal family, we're going to hear from Judge Hatchett, and it's slightly over 13 minutes. But I want to bring the full, because what I heard first was like about 2 minutes, and when you fully hear it, it gives a better impact. Okay, here we go. Let's roll with it.
Yes, good morning, Judge Bowers. My entire professional career, I have been involved in situations of supporting victims. As a judge, as an advocate, as an advocate for women's rights and for people's rights. And I have seen in my courtroom so many victims over the years, time and time and time and time again. And to be on this side of this, is very difficult. And it is important for the defendant and for everyone present to understand the horrific effect that this has had on me. I am a strong woman. I pride myself on being extremely strong and extremely disciplined. But this has cut me to the core. Again, I've been so involved in so many things. I purposely chose to go to a women's college undergraduate. I have been on the forefront. Personally, I have been advocating for women who are pregnant because my own daughter-in-law died needlessly. And so every situation in my life and juncture in my life, I have seen myself as really being on the forefront. Particularly now with the maternal rates of death in this country, and having lost my own daughter-in-law, who I always referred to as my daughter, of women dying needlessly. And so to have been in where I thought was a safe space, Judge Bowers, that evening, as a guest of who is now Marshall Brown, but a retired sheriff at the time. And I had been welcomed in that setting all evening. People were gracious, they were welcoming, They were people taking pictures. I mean, just such a wonderful environment. And for this man to come up and highlight me the way that you did is unspeakable. I thought I was okay. I went home. I even went to a dinner the next night. This happened on a Tuesday. And Thursday morning, I could not get out of bed. I could not. And I have been through so many trying times, both professionally and personally, that have not affected me in the way that this has. And this is the first time in my life, in my adult life, that I felt that I was completely powerless. And that is a horrible, horrible way to feel. I pride myself on being extremely strong. I see myself as a very strong woman, and I have been blessed with a number of opportunities in my life. I have said and will continue to say that I unapologetically went immediately into therapy. I was talking to my therapist as late as last night and preparing for what would come today. This is the first time I've seen a defendant since that night. There was clearly no remorse. I was stunned. I was angry at myself that I didn't hit him, but I was just paralyzed. I was in shock. And I so now understand the victims that I have heard who've said that. I know what that feels like personally now. I know what that feels like. And I hope that the defendant understands that that is a situation that will stay with me forever. That instant, in so many ways, changed my life. And it is important that people who do these kinds of things understand the impact that it has. Because if I, with degrees and with all the professional opportunities I've had, and all the things I've done in this world, for me to stand here in this courtroom, affected the way I am, what about all the other women who don't have the resources that I have, who don't have the support of a former sheriff, now U.S. Marshal Brown, of loving friends, of people who have really put their arms around me? What happens with all the other women who don't have the courage to say this is wrong and that this should not happen ever? It is a disgrace. It is horrific. And the impact that it has is a deep scar. If you had told me that I would be here and reacting the way that I am, I would not have believed it. Again, I think that I'm a very strong woman. And if this has happened to me, and I have the resources to have counseling, I have the support of a wonderful community, what about the women who don't, Judge? And that's the point. It is not lost on me that that night, although there had been one other black woman at the reception and she had left by that time, it is not lost on me. I was the only black woman in that entire room. He did not know me. He was not invited to the table. He came to the end of that table and stood next to me. Marshal Brown introduced himself as a retired sheriff, introduced me as Judge Hatchett. And yet, he did what he did to me, which is horrific and is unexcusable. I thank the court for the time. I thank the court for the opportunity to speak. And I know that I stand here in so many ways, not just for myself, but for a lot of women who've been abused, who don't get to have an opportunity with this forum that I've had this morning. So I thank you, Your Honor.
You know, when people, may I respond? Ms. Hatchett, Ms. Judge Hatchett, may I respond?
Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you.
I want to relate something to you that in no way is it's meant to be quoted with what you just told me, but it helps me to understand what you're telling me. In April 2016, I had a really horrible accident on property out in the Northeast Georgia. I almost lost my life.
I'm so
Prior to
sorry.
that, I never understood really the concept of pain and suffering. I just did, because I had hurts in my life, but I didn't understand in my marrow, the marrow of my soul, what pain and suffering was. I understand today because every day my leg hurts, it bothers me, it's painful. I'll carry that with me to my grave. I am not equating how you feel with how I feel.
I understand.
In any way at
I
all.
understand.
But I simply relate that to you so that I can, as best I know with my limited intelligence, to say to you, I grieve for you. I am sorry that you have suffered this in the community in which I live, and honored to serve. I respect the fact that you have come here today and have said what you have said. The state has suggested to the court, with Mr. Pugh present in the past, that there were some concerns about the delay in this case coming to resolution. I understand. I understand that. The attorney has his legal prerogative to change attorneys. The state's attorney has changed. And when this incident occurred, and it's terribly unfortunate to do, but we were still in the COVID environment, and those all have occasioned delay. For that, this court apologizes to you. I would urge you, with the platform and the resources that you've indicated that you possess, to be even more vocal in speaking out for women. You can be their voice, you can be their face, you can be their advocate in many, many ways. And I will simply say respectfully to you, Judge Hatchett, to you there, and to step into that void that others cannot. Perhaps you can make an even bigger difference in the world. And I thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate the fact that you're here very much.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you. I appreciate that. If I may just respond to one thing that you said about the
Sure,
delay.
you may respond to anything.
Having been on the other side of this and sit where you sit, I understand the demands on the court, and I understand the demands on the schedule of this court, compounded by COVID. But from my perspective, I must tell you that I think that there has been an abuse of the process by the defendant and his attorney in a way that kept delaying. This case was scheduled, Your Honor, to be pled out the second week in September. And there were just delays after delays after delays. I think, I'll be very candid, I think for the purposes of preserving his pension. And I think that that is just despicable. I think they have manipulated this system to his advantage. And I think that that is unacceptable. I say that as an officer of the court, and I say it as a victim. And in closing, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. I too did not understand the pain of grief until my father died suddenly almost 30 years ago. And it changed my perspective about dealing with people and loss in my own courtroom as people came in and were suffering. I understood the pain differently after you had had that kind of pain. I purposely did not speak about this issue. I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize the sanctity of your court and this process, but I will absolutely be vocal. If it had to happen to somebody, it's best that it happened to me, because I am in a position to then help others. And I thank the court for your time this morning, and I thank you for sharing your story with me. Very much appreciate that.
I would confirm the night every day, sir.
I do too.
I'm honored that you've been here today. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's over with, my royal family. And I know the sound quality was low. That's why I had the close capturing up. And I thought it was very necessary to play that because we you know, we don't know, you know, people suffer many things in life. I'm a person that lives in chronic pain. So if I'm talking to someone who lives in chronic pain, I understand that. I have lost both of my parents, and I feel like they were very young when they passed. They were in their 60s. And being an only child and dealing with the pain of that, or personally dealing with 6 deaths in a 7-year span, gives you a different perspective on life. And it's really heartbreaking to hear Judge Hatchett cry like that. That shows you the deep end of her pain. And what I want to read, my royal family, before we get into the next video, that ex-sheriff Chris Cootie has been sentenced to 12 months probation, 40 hours of community service, and a $500 fine, sexual evaluation, and he must complete alcohol and drug course, which his lawyer said he already has completed. Now, we in the royal family know that this is a slap on the wrist. And I do agree with Judge Hatchett with all the delays and all the tactics and stuff. He was able to get away with a lot of these different things because of the position that he is in, and that the system is set up to protect the enemy. Now, also what I want to read is a statement that he made, because it was something that she had said in regards of his pension. This morning, I plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge in Cobb County State Court. To be clear, I had no intention to touch Mitch Hatchett inappropriately. Unfortunately, I acted in a careless manner, and for that, I have taken full responsibility for my actions. Additionally, I have resigned as the sheriff of Blakely County effective 8 a.m. August 21st, 2023, and as such, thereby forfeit the pension. Oops, why did that jump? I'm reading the juicy parts and then it jumps. Ain't that something? We in the retrograde phase. Keep that on your frontal lobe. I have resigned as sheriff of Blakely County effective 8 a.m. August 21st, 2023, and as such thereby forfeit the pension that is typically associated with that office. He lost his pension. He lost his pension. He'll get his Social Security, but he lost his pension. And when I had presented the other videos, and I'll put a link there if somebody want to go back and listen to that video that I presented a couple of weeks ago, to get a bigger, broader picture of all the other antics that he got away with. He did it to himself. I keep saying there's a cost messing with royalty. So, my royal family, let's get into this, not this one. Now I put this up here for a reason. Let's get into this video first and see what this says, because I think this is the one that didn't give enough information. Let's see real quick. If I don't like it, I'm going to take it down.
Be perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and say, that the sheriff's office is going to be perfect under my regime, but I can assure that I will do the best that Daniel Cate can do.
That is new interim Bleckley County Sheriff Daniel Cape, who says he is ready to take on his new role for the folks who live in Bleckley County. Now, he's been a part of the department for over 20 years. Camila Williams went to Cochran to speak with him and hear from people about what they want from the interim sheriff.
Community engagement and outreach are on his to-do list as the new sheriff. Daniel Cape says he doesn't want Cootie's resignation to be a distraction for his department and the county.
Be more passionate about it.
Connie Connor has lived in Cochran for almost 40 years. She wants Cape to be more involved with the city of Cochran.
Do stuff for the kids. Have a recreation done for the kids. Some type of events where they won't have no way of getting in trouble.
Cape says he wants the department involved in the county.
We want to have some more community engagement. I have some ideas on those things, maybe some citizen involvement in some sheriff's office functions.
Before stepping up, Cape served as chief deputy. Cape says he's looking to continue the mission that's always been in place.
We always strive to get to know the community better, and that's something that I encourage. You know, the old adage of just pulling over and stopping your patrol car and talking to people and getting to know who your citizens are.
William Connor hopes Cape can bring people together.
Ethnic groups and youth groups all alike, and not be fearful of one another.
Cape says he doesn't want Cootie's resignation to distract his department.
You can't stop. It's like anything in life. We got to keep digging. We're going to keep on going.
In Cape's message to the community,
I want people to know that I'm here. If there's any questions, concerns about things that they have heard, or if there's any worry about what may be occurring going on in the future, please come see me.
Connor just wants a complete sheriff's department.
I hope this better.
Now, I did reach out to the Georgia Sheriff's Association, and they told me that when Cootie resigned, Cape automatically becomes the sheriff until the next special election in Cochran. Camila Williams, 13 WMAZ News.
Okay.
Sheriff Cape is scheduled to be sworn in tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the Bleckley County Courthouse.
Not a damn thing gonna change at all, my royal family. That's just some BS. But I did put that up for a reason. Ain't nothing gonna change. They gonna keep welling down on black folks and keep doing what they doing at the end of the day. He been up under him for 20 years. So what you think is going to change? They have the same mindset. Okay. As we continue on, I'm gonna take this video down. And we're going to listen to this next one. And this is the press conference after the fact. And this is a little over 14 minutes. And let's get deeper into this.
And I know that he's not able to speak today, but U.S. Marshal, who was a witness, Thomas Brown, who also gave an impact statement in court today. And we want to thank him. But my sister, Judge Glenda Hatchett, I know that this has been a tough day, yes, but it's a day of vindication.
It is.
We are proud of you, and you speak for so many women and men who have been victims. Mm-hmm. And then I want to say to my son,
Wait, now, come on.
My son, Chris Stewart, he's my son.
No, he's my son.
Look, we claimed him, but anyway, so proud of him, so proud of what you do, so proud of the justice. We all stand here together in representing this phenomenal woman, Judge Hatchett.
Clearly, I am surrounded by an enormous amount of support. And I'm very grateful to my law firm, Stewart Miller & Simmons, and all the people here who have really stood in the gap. CK, we have these people, Gerald, they just represent a few of the people who have really been on the battlefield. And as Chris said, CK has really been the person who has been leading this. I want to talk to you about what this has meant to me, and I'm grateful that you're all here so that I can just have this opportunity collectively. Because I hope you understand that every time I talk about this, I am in fact having to relive what happened to me. I was at a reception, so I'm going to be very candid with you. I'm going to be fairly brief. I'm going to be very candid about what happened so that there's no misunderstanding about what went on. I was the guest of then retired Sheriff Thomas Brown at a reception for the Georgia Sheriff's Association. I was greeted with I was welcomed. People were just happy to see me. People wanted to take pictures. I felt very comfortable. And so for this to happen was just like, my goodness. And I was standing at a table, and the defendant, who I will continue to call the defendant, came up uninvited, and I was introduced to him as Judge Hatchett. To be cordial, I'll make this very quick. My family is from Troup County, Georgia. I said that, but I didn't know where Bleckley County was. He poked me just momentarily in the chest. It's right in the heart of Georgia. But then he grabbed my breast. He grabbed my left breast. He squeezed it. He then started rubbing on my breast until Thomas Brown intervened. Literally had to take his hand off of me and push him off of me. I am a very strong woman. I pride myself on being strong, and I really thought I was fine. I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened. I'm fine. This happened Tuesday night. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I pressed charges the next morning. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I even went to a dinner that Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I could not get out of bed. And I want to be candid about this. I'm being very, because people who know me, my life is very public, but my life is very private. I bet you $1,000, very few of you could say anything about my personal life, and that is by design. Even before I went on television, I am very private, almost introverted in my personal life. And so here it is, you know, I am sobbing, literally sobbing. I could not stop crying. I could not get out of bed that Thursday morning. My assistant, Naima Rashad, has been with me for some 12 years or so at that time, was like, she'd never seen me like that. I rarely cry. Very few people have ever seen me cry. And I could not even get up to go and get something to eat. That's how, in what horrible shape I was. I want to be very candid that I did go into therapy that evening at 6 o'clock with Dr. Susan May. And I say that because there's sometimes such stigma about therapy. I needed help. My life had been changed. And as I said to the judge in the court this morning, that I never expected that I would be so deeply affected by this. I could barely get through my impact statement. See, my eyes are still puffy. I cried and cried and cried in court. And thankfully, I've at least gotten that out so that I hopefully won't break down today, and I might. But what I said is that there is a scar that he left. And what I really resented is that someone could have that kind of power over me. That somebody could make me in that moment feel helpless. I have never felt so helpless in my entire life. And I was angry, frankly. I was angry that I didn't slap him, I didn't kick him. But now I understand victims. I was absolutely frozen. And so I stand here today, as they have said, that I have been on the other side of this. I've never been the victim. I have been the advocate. I have been supporting people. I've been trying to make sure that people's rights were protected. And here I am being a victim. And so it would have been easy for me to just, go home and say, okay, well, it's an unfortunate situation. I had to file charges. There had to be accountability. Because the message needs to be clear that you cannot do this. How dare you do this? And if he would do this to me after having been introduced to him as Judge Hatchett, what else is happening? What about the women and men who are out here who don't have the resources that I have, who don't have the support of this amazing law firm and these amazing lawyers and all these people in the community who have stepped up and have been with me? This has been 20 months. 20 months that they have manipulated the system with delays after delays after delays, in my opinion, so that he could hold on to not only his salary, but his pension. And I'm going to go there. I am going to go there. The governor did nothing. I'm going to go there. The governor, after men and women stood in front of the Capitol last October and demanded that the governor take action, he never suspended him until this today, when he resigned. He has been on salary and will have his full benefits. And so that is outrageous and it's unacceptable. And yes, I went there. And so I will stand. I will take a few questions today, and I appreciate you all being collectively here so that I don't have to keep reliving this over and over as I talk. But I just want to say to the victims out there, speak up. People have to be accountable. And the judge said to me before I left the court today, I hope that you will continue to speak up. And that is what I will do. That is what this law firm will do. That is what others who are in this fight day in and day out will do. Because we must be the voice for the voiceless. We must stand in the gap. We must be there to support people who are not able to do what needs to be done to seek justice. And so with that, I will open it up for questions. And I got through it without falling apart. But if you go back and see the courtroom tape this morning, I mean, I was just all over the podium. I mean, I was like, whoop! And I didn't think I would, but I did. I mean, it has been hard.
Judge Hatchett, why do you suppose the court system and the governor took so long to recognize that this was a serious issue?
Well, first of all, the governor still hasn't done anything. The defendant resigned this morning before entering a plea to preserve, basically, in my opinion, his pension. Had he taken the plea and been on the record as being guilty of this sexual assault, he would have forfeited under state law. And so I think that this was carefully orchestrated. I said to the judge this morning, I appreciate the backup with COVID and so forth and so on, but he was scheduled to plea, let's be very clear, the second week in September of last year, and he didn't. And it kept getting delays, He was going to plea, I'm going to go to trial, I'm going to plea, back and forth, until finally I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And it was finally set. And I think that Judge Brewer did a remarkable job. He actually went further than what the prosecutors asked for this morning. And he made it very clear as to why he did not grant first offender coverage or what am I saying? Protection. Thank you. That's why I have good people around me. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
How do you feel about this sentence?
I think that justice was served, Donna. I do. I do think that there was an abuse of the system on behalf of the defense. In this case, I just think there were too many delays. I would have liked for the solicitor to have been far more aggressive in opposing so many delays, because I think she got outmaneuvered, frankly. I mean, you know me long enough to know I'm just going to tell you what I think. I think she got outmaneuvered, and to the point where I had to put my foot down and say, absolutely enough. This has got to be resolved. And if he hadn't entered the plea today, he would then be, we would be on trial next Monday and Tuesday. And so I didn't know whether he was going to show up this morning. I mean, we went, and it was scheduled, but we didn't know for sure whether he did. And he did resign, as I said, shortly before. But I do think justice was served. I do. I think there has to be accountability, and I think that this all needs to be done publicly. I will also add that his attorney had asked some time ago through the prosecutor to communicate with me if I would accept his apology and drop the charges. And the answer was an emphatic no. He did not apologize to me today. The judge gave him 3 opportunities to speak. Each time, you were there, each time the judge said, is there anything else you wish to say? 3 separate times in the process. And he said no. It would have taken him 30 seconds to have just, I was right on the front row. It would have taken him 30 seconds to say, I'm sorry. He never said it. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because I do not define myself based on whether he will ever apologize to me. That is not who I am, and I really, that's it. I don't care if he apologizes.
Is there a different standard for women victims accused of
I'm sorry,
Is there a different
standard for
issue of standards?
Well, I think
to women victims who are particularly when they're accusing men of
well, I can't say that emphatically. I do think in this situation that it was handled poorly. I do. I think the governor could have made an important statement, as I was talking about earlier, that spoke to this and the impropriety of this. And for the governor's office to issue a statement saying that they weren't going to do anything because he was not on duty is absurd. It's ludicrous. And so I can't say yes emphatically on that, but I do have real concerns about what happens. And let me just go a step further on this. What if I were not Judge Hatchett? What if I didn't have a Chris Stewart? What if I didn't have a C.K. Hoffman? What if I didn't have a Gerald Riggs? And all of these lawyers and all of these people who have come and stood with me shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. What if I couldn't afford to go to therapy? What would have happened that Thursday? What would have happened to me? You know, I am surrounded by so much support because I'm Judge Hatchett. But what about the women and men victims who aren't? And that's why I've dedicated so much of my life, as you know, professionally, advocating and trying to be a voice for people who don't have a platform, who will never be able to stand in front of a press conference, who will never be heard. And so, yeah, I did file charges, and yes, I was going to see this through.
Okay, Andrew Kraft here now in the anchor chair. You have been listening right now to Judge Glenda Hatchett there in Atlanta from earlier this morning, addressing the public for the very first time after being allegedly sexually assaulted by a Georgia sheriff at the Georgia.
Okay, that's the end of that, my royal family. As we were listening to this press conference, I went back to double check, and I could be wrong because sometimes things that you read are not necessarily true, but I'm going to keep abreast of this because what I had read to y'all was that he basically said, I resign as the sheriff of Blakely County effective 8 a.m. August 21st, 2023, and as such, thereby forfeit the pension that is typically associated with that office. Now, that's what is stated. Is that actually true? It may not be, my royal family, because Judge Hatchett is speaking very strongly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to keep an eye on this to see if that's really, really true. I hope so. That he has lost his pension. He hasn't lost his Social Security or anything like that. And she is absolutely right. The governor dropped the ball on it, did absolutely nothing, because it's a known fact that this man had committed all types of crimes, and they would always keep his record squeaky clean. So when he would run for office, he was able to continue to maintain his position. And it's terrible people like her would have to have that experience to fully understand what a victim goes through. You know, that's awful. That's just really, really awful. But I wanted to give the royal family an update, which my eye was on this, but I didn't know it was going to come up today. So it's always good to have your subscribers email you, because there's only so much one person can do. And again, Amari Benton, thank you, my queen, for putting this out. And I jumped right on it and started doing my research. So it is what it is. I know it's a bit of a long video, but do what you do best, my royal family. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.